Hello! In this video we'll explore the lore of Dying Light 2, including the virus, experiments, UV light, the infected, and many other key details. Buckle up and let's dive in. Perfected virus. After the events of the first Dying Light, the city of Harran was quarantined, and a cure was eventually found for the original virus named THV. Tachy-transmissive Harran virus. However, the GRE, or Global Relief Effort, a humanitarian organization with secret ties to unethical bioresearch, did not shut down their operations. Instead of destroying the virus after finding the cure, the GRE secretly took samples and moved operations outside of public view, continuing their research in secret labs. Later, around 2021, GRE scientists succeeded in modifying and stabilizing the virus, creating a version called THV Gen Mod, a genetically modified variant. Unlike the Harran virus, this new form was more resilient, highly infectious, and easier to control for military use. It was intended for weaponization, making it possible to turn populations into controllable infected soldiers or eliminate hostile regions rapidly. Sometime later, a test subject, or lab accident, implied through collectibles and side lore, led to a breach, and the THV Gen Mod escaped containment. Within months, the virus spread globally, faster and more violently than the Harran strain. Governments collapsed, global infrastructure broke down, and only a few isolated cities, like Villedor, remained standing. The current world our protagonist explores is a result of the second outbreak, not the first. Many of the infected types seen in Dying Light 2, like volatiles, howlers, and revenants, are evolutions of the GenMod strain, with far more aggressive traits. The GRE's experiments on children, including Aiden, were based on attempts to control or reverse the new virus through genetic modifications, a central thread of the main story. Civilization fell despite a cure. At the end of Dying Light in 2015, Kyle Crane retrieves a file from Dr. Zia and hands it over to the GRE, which contains data on a potential cure for the original Harran virus, or THV. While the first game ends ambiguously, canon lore in Dying Light 2 confirms that a cure was found for the Harran virus, but it was never distributed globally. So how it happens and why all goes to shit? First step was that GRE covered all up. Instead of releasing the cure, the GRE concealed it for political and financial reasons. They wanted to retain control of the virus for military research. Also, they continued classified experiments, believing they could enhance the virus to serve defense and bioweapon purposes. And finally, because they feared global backlash if the truth about Harran's cover-up was exposed. After covering all up, a second generation of virus named THV Gen Mod was created. By 2021, GRE had genetically engineered a new strain, THV Gen Mod, believing it was more stable and controllable. This variant escaped or was released accidentally, triggering a second global pandemic. Unlike the Harran outbreak, this one spread across continents, overwhelming every country in months. And as final step, all governments collapsed quickly. Public trust in authorities and humanitarian organizations imploded. Military and political structures fell. Borders closed, communications broke down, most cities were abandoned, destroyed, or consumed by infected. Only isolated zones like Villedor remained, barely surviving behind strict quarantine walls. So to summarize, all the fall of civilization in Dying Light 2 is not due to lack of science, but corruption, secrecy, and greed. That theme runs deep in the game's narrative, that people destroy themselves, not just the infected. Test zone for experiments. Villedor city itself, with time became a test site for military and GRE experiments, explaining the dense presence of GRE quarantine buildings and bizarre virus mutations. Why was it Villedor chosen by GRE? After the Harran incident, The GRE needed a new, discrete location to continue virological research and to test genetic and chemical modifications of the THV virus, plus later to monitor long-term human behavior and infection patterns. And Villedor's political instability and geographic isolation made it a prime candidate. Plus, it had limited global oversight, its infrastructure was suitable for controlled experimentation, and GRE could deploy military and scientific assets with minimal resistance. There are numerous key evidences that Villedor was a test zone. At first, there are a lot of GRE facilities everywhere. The city is filled with abandoned GRE quarantine buildings, labs, observation posts, and outposts. Also, GRE crates scattered across rooftops and interiors are remnants of supply drops and research missions. At second, a lot of GRE scientists and subjects are present in the city. Many documents and audio logs reveal Villedor hosted clinical trials. Children, including Aiden and Mia, were used in experiments to study viral immunity and mutation. Aiden's flashbacks and story arc revealed the GRE operated secret facilities beneath the city, such as X-13. The observatory was a central command for GRE's local operations, later bombed to prevent the truth from emerging. And X-13 facility was GRE's clandestine underground lab where the most dangerous work occurred. And finally, there are signs of accelerated infection variants that point that there was many testing in the city. Many infected types found in Villedor, such as howlers, volatiles, and revenants, are mutated versions of themselves. All this suggests active manipulation of THV strains within the city. Half human, half volatile. Our main character, Aiden Caldwell, was subject to GRE experiments as a child, which gave him enhanced physical traits and a deeper connection to the virus. Aiden was one of many children taken by the GRE for secret human experimentation related to the THV virus. These children were housed in facilities like X-13, where they were subjected to genetic tests, viral injections, and brain stimulation. The GRE aimed to create immune or enhanced individuals that would be capable of resisting THV infection, and possibly controlling it, developing superior physical and cognitive traits. Aiden and his sister Mia were both enrolled in the program, though only Aiden showed physical enhancements over time. Due to experimenting on him, the consequences of the experiments are next. Enhanced abilities. Aiden's exceptional agility, strength, and resilience are direct results of GRE modifications. He displays unnatural stamina, fast recovery, and peak physical performance, surpassing typical pilgrims or survivors. Infection resistance. Unlike most, Aiden can survive longer without UV light and resists full transformation when infected. His biomarker behaves differently, often sparking concern among others, especially the peacekeepers and scientists. Rage mutation episodes. Under stress or exposure to certain triggers, such as Waltz's presence or chemicals, Aiden enters a rage state in which his body partially mutates. He gains temporary superhuman speed, strength, and reflexes, and he loses control, attacking enemies with feral aggression, hinting at partial viral activation. Late in the game, Aiden returns to X-13, the underground GRE lab where he was raised and experimented on. There, he learns the truth about his condition, Walter's role, and how deeply altered he really is. But also, Aiden struggles with hallucinations, memory loss, and guilt, all resulting from both trauma and neurological manipulation by GRE scientists. His identity crisis and moral decisions throughout the game reflect his uncertain humanity. Is he still just human, or something else? Notes and tapes. While exploring the game world, there are lots of audio logs, GRE reports, and letters that reveal hidden backstories, including early GRE betrayals, survivor confessions, and scientific data about the virus. Some of them that reveals GRE betrayals and conspiracies exposes the organization's corruption and unethical conduct. For example, GRE internal memos, such as documents discussing intentional suppression of the Harran cure and continued virus testing in isolated cities, including Villedor. Audio logs from scientists, in which some scientists express guilt or fear over the weaponization of THV virus, hinting that the virus' global spread was not entirely accidental. And field reports with details how GRE abandoned local personnel, left infected survivors untreated, or covered up outbreaks to avoid political fallout. Other type of notes are survivor confessions. Scattered notes and recordings that provide first-hand survivor accounts from before and after the outbreak. For example, final letters, which was written by citizens before turning infected, often to loved ones or factions they betrayed. Confession logs that reveal survivors who worked for the GRE or peacekeepers and later regretted their role in the city's downfall. And personal diaries that include entries from night runners, civilians, and even infected individuals struggling with their transformation. And one type of note is scientific data about the virus. You can find documents with pseudoscientific language explaining the THV virus and its mutations. For example, THV GenMod research notes that details the differences between the Harran virus and its genetically modified successor. Infected behavior logs that contains observation reports on howlers, volatiles, and revenants, their triggers, patterns, and tissue decay rates. And biomarker calibration sheets that explaining how biomarker devices function, what UV light does biologically, and how infection resistance varies per subject. UV lights. Ultraviolet lights plays a central role in both the game's mechanics and the scientific logic of the THV virus. It is one of the few tools survivors have to control infection spread and protect themselves from the infected. The THV virus, especially its GenMod strain, is highly photosensitive at the molecular level. UV radiation disrupts the virus's cellular integrity, causing cellular death in infected tissue, inhibited mutation and transformation, disorientation or paralysis in exposed infected. Known effects on infected types are next. On biters, UV light causes them to flee or freeze when exposed. Virals instantly retreat and scream in pain. Howlers became disoriented and they can't call reinforcements under UV. Volatiles became severely weakened and start rapidly burn if under direct UV. And that is why UV light plays a crucial role in survival. Exploring roofs and streets of the Dying Light 2 world, we can see UV safe zones. Survivors set up UV lamps around beds, rooftops, and bases. These act as safe zones during nighttime or chases, as infected can't enter them. Also, Aiden carries a UV flashlight, useful for blinding enemies temporarily, repelling infected in close quarters, or stopping volatiles or virals mid-attack. However, when Aiden is in the dark, a countdown starts based on biomarker sync signaling of his infection kicking in. Standing in UV light helps in resetting the timer, halting progression toward full transformation. Reminder of the past. While exploring, you may notice that some infected enemies still wear biomarkers, the wrist-mounted devices used to monitor viral infection in humans. This detail is not random. It has deep narrative, symbolic, and scientific meaning. First of all, let's talk what is biomarker. It is a wristband worn by all survivors in Villedor, developed by the GRE to monitor THV viral load, heart rate, immunity status, and UV exposure, plus the time remaining before a person turns into an infected. Biomarkers glow based on infection level. So, Why do some infected still have biomarkers? There can be multiple explanations. First, they were once survivors. Many infected were once civilians, soldiers, or even night runners. They turned recently or unexpectedly, often caught in dark zones or injured. Their biomarkers remain on their wrists, frozen at the last recorded stage before full mutation. Second, frozen evidence of failure. A red or inactive biomarker on an infected shows that they failed to reach UV light or treatment in time. It serves as a symbol of helplessness, reinforcing the theme that no one is truly safe, and you're only a moment away from turning. And third, unstable infected or virals. Some early-stage infected retain partial motor control and appearance with active or damaged biomarkers still visible. Their behavior is more human-like, crawling, speaking in broken words, or reacting to UV light in fear, reinforcing their in-between status. Also worth to mention that some GRE notes and survivor logs reference the tracking and cataloging of infected using biomarker data. Some GRE logs suggest the biomarker signal continues to broadcast briefly after infection, explaining how GRE drones or soldiers identified outbreak hotspots. In rare cases, biomarker serial numbers tie infected back to key NPCs or side stories, giving weight to personal tragedies. But overall, the biomarkers on the infected serve as a silent reminder of their lost humanity. They reinforce one of the game's central themes: stay human or become them. These subtle visual cues give the world emotional weight. Every infected you fight used to be like Aiden, Hakon, Lawan, Sophie, or anyone else. Night hunters. Predators that only appear at night, or as called volatiles, are among the most dangerous infected types, appearing almost exclusively at night. They are fast, powerful, and nearly unkillable without preparation. Lore and gameplay both emphasize their role as apex predators of the infected ecosystem. Now let's talk about who they are, why they hunt at night, and some other details. Volatiles are highly evolved infected, transformed by prolonged exposure to the THV GenMod virus. They are further along the mutation path than biters or virals. Their biology is uniquely suited for nocturnal hunting, and they possess enhanced strength, speed, and agility, powerful senses of smell and sound. But at the same time, they have very high sensitivity to UV light and sunlight. Why do they hunt at night? First of all, because sunlight kills them, as volatiles cannot survive direct sunlight. They hide in dark zones or GRE quarantine buildings during the day, emerging only after sunset. And secondly, because of nighttime advantage. At night, the infected become more aggressive and territorial. Volatiles dominate the top of the food chain, even virals flee from them. They track players through sound, light and scent, and will chase Aiden across entire districts if being provoked. In-game logs and some NPC dialogue revealed that volatiles were likely a designed mutation, not accidental. A GRE attempt to create a controlled bioweapon. Their metabolism and aggression suggest engineered traits for rapid deployment and elimination of targets. Some GRE researchers feared the volatile mutation more than any other, calling them unsalvageable, irreversible, and beyond threshold X. Overall, in-game, volatiles also represent what Aiden could become if he loses control. They are the embodiment of what humanity fears most in this world: a complete, irreversible transformation. Their presence reminds players that night is never safe, no matter how strong they become. And that is all for this video. Thanks for watching and stay cool. See you in the next one.